We're live.
Right. Back with World Strong's Opinions, episode 21 with Tom Evans. 2022 Open Amateur Arnold World Champion. 2022 Shaw Classic Open Amateur Champion. And most recently, this year, the Arnold Classic on the big stage, taking fifth for your debut with the big guys. Tom Evans, welcome to the show. Glad to have you.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Welcome
Super
to the
stoked.
show.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, so let's just dive right in. Hitting the Arnold stage. How many years have you been training leading up to this, Tom? And how many years have you been competing? Really, that's the bigger question.
Yeah.
How many? You look like a big guy. You've been training a long time. How many years have you been doing strongman?
So my first ever competition was Delaware Strongest in April 2019.
Nice.
So just a little over 4 years now, or a little under. Oh wow, time flies. Yeah, and I really didn't start fully training strongman until like summer of 18. So yeah, I guess in the grand scheme of things, people tell me I haven't been doing it all that long. But I did come with a training background, so I did have a decent foundation in most of the just your generic movements, not necessarily strongman related. But my first strongman training session, I was trying to do axle clean and press with a barbell with a bunch of fat grips on it, and I think that was like somewhere in the summer of 2018. Didn't go very well to start with, but we've gotten a little better since then.
Yeah. Fat grips they're weird. They're nothing like an axle.
I tried that once before. The weird rotational effect and everything.
It didn't work at all. But I was bound and determined that day to do something strongman related.
I feel like a lot of people. I started with fat grips too, and realized way a long time ago. You're like a coach or strength coach at is it University of Delaware?
Yes, it is. Yeah, so I'm strength and conditioning coach. I assist football and then head men's and women's lacrosse. So I get to work with a bunch of athletes, all different kinds, all different backgrounds. So, you get a really nice weight room to work out in myself too. Kind of makes it real easy. I'll train a bunch of groups in the morning, then I'll do my training session, and then in the evening have more training groups depending on the season.
Yeah. So how does that work exactly with having a full-time job like that and then a competition like the Arnold? How much time would you take off, or how's all that work?
I try to not abuse it, but Delaware is extremely supportive of my strongman. I call it a part-time job, but it's probably really a full-time job for most people. I train 4 hours a day, pretty much 4 times a week. I don't really ever go over 4 days a week. And then that kind of works within travel schedule for Delaware. But they're super supportive if it's a big competition, for National Strongman Corp. Obviously Arnold's I've been able to go to. I try to get back to work quick. I drove back Monday, and next day I was in before 5 a.m. on Tuesday this week. Yeah. So, but we have a great staff, and they're willing to help me out. They were all watching it. They had it up on the TVs in the weight room while I was competing. So they're very supportive, making sure all my stuff's covered and addressed while I'm away competing.
Okay, that makes sense. So did you drive out to Ohio then, or did you fly over?
I drove. The closest airport here is Philly, so that's about an hour of driving just to get to the airport. And then I'm the guy that likes to bring way too much stuff. I got a cooler with $80 worth of Pedialyte, 6 gallons of water, all the food I can bring, one of those body tempering rollers, massage gun, all the warm up stuff I need. So flying, it really doesn't work, and every time my bag weighs too much, and I always got to be that guy at the airport that's opening up their suitcase trying to figure out a way to make it lighter. It happens to me every time.
I never have to pay for that. It's ridiculous. I went I think my first year I went to Clash in South Carolina my bag was like, I don't know, 56 pounds. It wasn't even that much over, and they charged me like $150 extra.
Yeah, you're better off bringing more bags.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
found out, which doesn't make any sense. But
that happened to my wife Andy. That her bag was 2 pounds over, and they're like, "Oh, you need to make it lighter." So they were like, "Just put it in your backpack." It's like, is the backpack going on a separate plane? Like,
yeah, they
don't
want to pick up more than 50 pounds. They're not in their training. That's the issue.
It's not in their training.
True.
They need to train strongman.
Everyone should train strongman, really.
I agree. I mean, it's just picking up and moving things. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Anywhere from rocks to logs, all practical in real world applications.
That makes sense. So you said, so you started out relatively, like, I guess, 4 years ago is actually a decent amount of time, everything. But what made you first consider making that switch, really?
Yeah, so I was kind of forced out of football. Really didn't have any opportunities to play anymore, and any other attempts probably would have been just beating a dead horse. And then about the same time, Born Strong was out on Netflix. And I watched it, and I'm like, shit, I can do some of this. And I realized those weights were much heavier than I probably anticipated when I first watched it. But, the Born Strong is an Arnold movie. So that this weekend was like kind of like a full circle. And, I love lifting weights, and I hated running aspect. And turns out we had a condition for the wheel of pain, so which was probably even worse than just running. But no, and then I was like, if I kind of jump into things that don't really half-ass much. I don't do a lot of different things for that reason because I don't have the time or the energy. But if you committed to it and kind of kept surprising myself with benchmarks I would beat, and here we are now. Very, very surreal. I don't know if this was ever the plan to start with.
Yeah, you've gone so far. I mean, you had a phenomenal performance at the Shaw Classic Open. Like, that was really impressive, especially too, to be able to come from being like 5.5 points behind to then be able to podium.
That's the only thing about strongman is that every event matters the same. Like and the way I was looking at it, because I was all worried about my deadlift going into Arnold, but I'm like, well, the stone throw, which everybody else thinks is stupid, but right now it's my favorite event because I have no disadvantage because nobody else has ever done it. So like, we were all kind of on the same playing field. I'm like, that's just as many points as deadlift. So, which usually tends to work in my favor as I try to be generally a little bit good in everything.
Yeah. And
do you have any background in throwing, or, I mean,
I threw shot put in high school. And discus. That was about it. That was the last time I threw something.
Do you think that helped with that big old stone?
What it did help is, so where I work, I talked to one of our javelin throwers and got her breakdown of like how obviously speed's way different, but I was like trying to visualize like how she takes her steps, where she throws it, and how much room she gives herself to like slow down, or how many steps. So that was really helpful for me, and kind of figuring out like where the power comes from in a throw and where the landing is. I mean, the lead up is so much different than like a shot put or a discus. And obviously I never did javelin. So it's like javelin, like plus shot put, but you use both hands. It's kind of how I used it, but without resting the thing on your head or on your chin. Some guys did. I didn't. I didn't like that setup, but just kind of trying to take principles from different things and apply them to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's smart. I think more people in like aspiring athletes need to realize how much there is to learn from other sports that carries over and is so applicable to the events that strongmen do. I mean, especially when it comes to throwing. I mean, one of the first things I did, I mean, very similar as soon as the bag over bar was introduced, I went to a Highland Games thrower. I'm like, teach me how to do weight over bar.
Yeah. Well, you're seeing a lot of CrossFit athletes do that to strongmen now because they're trying to figure out how to lift logs since those were becoming popular in yokes. I mean, the way strongmen's going, it's even more and more crossover. Hopefully, we never actually have to do any type of super CrossFit event. But at that point, I'll probably retire.
Us little guys
Maxwell's
have to do basically CrossFit.
That's what it feels like sometimes.
The 5 or 6 carry load medley, like death medley for 40 feet and sprint back. Yeah, that's basically CrossFit.
I don't know if you saw any of the amateur Arnold, but I thought it was really interesting. The carry to deadlift to carry the deadlift.
Yeah,
that was I don't think I've ever seen anything like that one. I didn't get to see it live. I just saw it video highlights of it.
Are you talking about the farmer's deadlift?
Yeah,
that's actually been in the Arnold several times. That's not new, but I mean, you're kind of pretty new to the sport still. I mean, 4 years from just your first show to the big stages. I want to like say how insanely impressive that is. And it's not. I don't know what I want to say. I don't think those words. I mean, that is not very common. I don't even know. I'd be curious to know what the fastest somebody has risen in strongman in the open, especially. I mean, because in past years it was an invite only, and guys would go straight to World's Strongest Man. But in more recent years, there's sort of a process to get to that, and getting that far in 4 years is pretty insane.
Yeah.
So,
well, I appreciate it.
yeah.
Definitely had a lot of help and a lot of luck along the way. So just kind of count your blessings and keep going. If you would consider Hooper's rise, kind of, I guess that really wasn't the open rise, but obviously that was stupid quick.
Yeah, it was pretty quick too. You're right, and I guess I didn't think about it, and I should have, because he kind of came out of nowhere too. Suddenly he was just competing in the top tier, and I think a year or two in he was on the podium. So.
Well, I don't even think he was still calling this his rookie year. He said the Arnold was the last rookie event, which I don't know if that's fair, but
yeah,
to win first place at the Arnold, that's a decent rookie year.
Well, I mean, you could win the Arnold, and in your first time at WSM, they'll call you a rookie. So
yeah, so it's like, what does that even mean? So. Even I haven't got invited to the Worlds, but if I get invited to the Worlds next year, I'm in my mind I won't be a rookie. I'll be a rookie to that show.
Yeah, and that's what they do. They'll call you a rookie because it's your first year. Well, they do it all constantly, pretty consistently. I've noticed in the past there'll be guys that it'll be the first year at WSM, but they're like already a very accomplished athlete, and they'll refer to him as a rookie. And I'm like, you even know this guy?
You're like 31 years old or whatever different age gaps when they get in that rookie year. Yeah. It's just a funny word they like to use. It helps with the publicity, I'm sure.
It definitely does, because it was interesting listening to, I think, the commentary, like Laz, the way they talked about you. They were like, oh, it's nice that like Tom Evans, he's lucky to be here. It's like, no, Tom Evans is a champ. Like, you've seen his performances. Like, to come in top 5 was amazing.
I felt lucky to be there, especially in the start. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's such an honor to compete on that stage on those iconic. They probably picked the most 3 iconic implements for that event, at least in my mind: the oak, the wheel of pain, and the frame. Like, I can't think of more. Like, for a single implement, like obviously there's stones, but it's a set of stones. It's not like this specific thing. Especially with the Austrian oak, I'm like, that is, to me, that was insane. Like, oh, I'm gonna get to lift the same oak that a Big Z smacked like 4 reps or whatever it was that year. So
yeah, that was him and Mike Jenkins went head to head. That was an impressive year.
How did it feel when you hit that rep with were you confident about the 435 walking up to it, or how did it feel?
I was until the first rep. Then I'm like, oh shit. Like, actually, the warm-ups didn't go great. I had to redo 380 a couple times, and I actually had to jump from 380 to 430, which is definitely not ideal. But it was my technique was a little off. Trying to muscle it up and not using leg drive, and that's what happens when you get adrenaline going. But I've hit it in training, and it was all like, all right, how different is the wood log going to feel than the MB Power Center one that I've been training on? They say the wood log's easier to clean. I thought it was. I about knocked myself down both times, but after I hit it, I was like, okay, it was a big, to me, that was like, all right, you've made it now. It's one thing to get invited, but to hit the iconic implement in front of all those fans, I was like, okay, we're rocking now. And it felt a little bit more confident moving forward after that, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Because I was going to ask. I was like, 'cause some people are saying it was harder, some people are saying it was easier, and everything.
Yeah,
So you would say it was easier to clean?
The clean, yes, but that's if there was a max clean log in Strongman, I would feel really confident on that one. I know the clean just kind of comes naturally to me. I don't really ever struggle with that. I mean, you definitely feel the massness of like how wide it is, but I don't think it's that much heavier. It's not like, I mean, I used to train on the Titan log that was 100 pounds. So I had to, when I was hitting 400 pounds, 300 of the 400 pounds was on the outside of it. So it kind of felt like that to me.
And you're rotating every pound of it, where like on a Titan log, the plates may the log may rotate.
Yeah.
Right. In the plates don't. If I'm saying that right. Yeah. So.
Well, sometimes you get a second whip. Like
yeah.
Because I was like using bumpers, where you would rotate the log and then like the weights would come behind it like a millisecond later. You'd feel the difference. But I'm glad I did, because I think it's helped me with my clean on really all kind of cleaning events. Those are probably my favorite. I would say. Yeah,
and I mean, it definitely probably lends to your power on Atlas stones as well.
Yes, if I get a tacky figured out, I've managed to mess up tacky 2 out of 2 times or on stone runs at least. A little bit less pressure when it's max stone. You're like, okay, you'll fix it for the next rep. But that's something I'm working on, experimenting with sleeves and trying not to get so damn sweaty. So
yeah, that's always the challenge.
Just turns into syrup, especially when it's hot. Just like,
oh yeah,
just that stick. Especially if you're not the first person to go on a stone run. Like once everyone else is gone and it's sticking to the floor and there's just tacky everywhere.
Yeah, it's just a giant mess.
Or everybody before you used half a jar, and so the stones are like completely just caked in tacky. And then it's like especially when it's hot.
Yeah. Well, I've never done a stone run outside. Ooh. I've only done like a over bar, like a one stoner.
Yeah.
Because my only 2 ever stone runs was Shaw last year and OSG. So my first stone run was, I guess, arguably the heaviest stone run that there is.
So that's an advantage, I think, doing stone runs, because the first stone will always be really tackied up, but the last one will be nice. Where you do like a stone over bar, if you're the last person to go, like that's what you typically want in most events, because that gives you the advantage. But on stone, I would so much rather be the first person.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you train for stones and some of those things? Do you have them at the University of Delaware? Like, have you brought in your own strongman stuff?
I have hidden in a corner a set of like 7 stones, like 270, like 435. And my mother-in-law actually built me like the stone platform. So then we have like this wooden stone platform that's like the varying heights that I drilled the horse stall mats. So you load from the horse stall mats and it kind of keeps it from tipping over using a bunch of L brackets. Because I don't have a wall behind it. It's kind of like in the corner of the turf, and then there's like grass behind it. I have flipped it once off those screws, but we just kind of come back and fix it. So I do train stones outside. I'm not worried about anybody stealing or messing with them. I'm just trying to keep them out of the corner. Like they have a huge, like 2 full field practice facility, and then there's like a half field, and then like there's like storage pods, so it's kind of hidden in the back a little bit. But if you're ever walking out in the fields of recruits and strong, but oh, there's a whole Atlas stone set over there. It looks kind of funny on a football field.
You'd be surprised what people will steal, though. We had a set of kegs outside. These were like 275 to like 400-pound kegs. You're like, nobody's going to take those. We came out one day, all gone.
Wow.
Yeah. Because
Kegs and barrels. Those are 2 things that people, if you leave barrels outside, they go so fast.
Yeah.
No, I've never had an issue, luckily.
Yeah.
Well, one, the facility is also locked, like most of the time. It would be an athlete they're messing with it, or like a club sports, or somebody just visiting. But I'm not too. There's also cameras everywhere, so if anybody's looking at my stones and you really want to steal them, I'll let you have it if you can load it into your truck.
You've earned it.
Oh, sorry.
You've earned the theft.
Yeah. There's a 400-pound sandbag in there too. Again, if you can carry it all the way to your freaking truck, all yours. Go for it.
Do your athletes ever do they ever want to do your strongman stuff or everything? Like,
Yeah.
how's that?
Yeah, sometimes we did a football competition this morning where we did basically the stone throw from the Arnold, except it was 20-pound med balls, but they were throwing it much further. Thank goodness. We incorporate some kind of we'll do like farmers competitions, and obviously there's a lot of sled push and pull style of training within football, and I use it with lacrosse as well. Yeah, every once in a while we'll do really kind of keep it to farmers, and mainly because of if you do like a competitive, right, you want them to go at the same time, you need multiple of the equipment. I kind of only just have one of everything, and it's all for super heavyweight. So it's kind of hard to make like a yoke competition when you only have one yoke. But we incorporate it, having fun, and sometimes if I got to log out, they'll try to pick it up or something. You got to keep an eye on it. Not an issue with the 100-pound time log, but I don't want somebody trying to rip that MB Power Center 205 off the ground with no warm up or no technique or anything like that. So, or a circus dumbbell for that matter. I'll let them row the circus dumbbell if they want.
If they can grip it without straps.
Yeah, So that kind of solves the problem right there.
Yeah. So what was your favorite moment from the weekend? Or I guess top 3 of you, because there's probably a ton of great moments with that group of guys.
Hitting the log after really messing up that first rep. Like I kind of talked about that. I was like, okay, we're good now. You belong here. It's not a battle for last place anymore. So my opening deadlift was actually also like a 5-pound PR. I haven't done a max deadlift since 2021 in comp. So I knew I was going to PR because we've been hammering that hard in training. And so much so I felt comfortable opening up with the PR. But the second deadlift, that was a 50-pound PR from comp to comp. So I was really excited about that. Tried to save it for a little bit to pull out that 900, but not quite yet. I think I could have squatted it, but we didn't do max squat this year. So anybody's listening, squats are cool, and we want more squatting events.
Yes.
Tell everybody we want more squatting events.
Yeah, it's always fun to see, especially the big ones with the weights on the side and everything.
Yeah.
It's just a fun event.
Yeah, then my second stone throw, even though I didn't land it, it felt awesome. And I kind of blew up on the internet a little bit after that. Really wish I would have landed it because I think it was somewhere around 12 feet. If it wasn't, it was really close. I would just wish I could have landed because I was flapping my arms like a freaking bird. And then, of course, it made it onto the Rogue page. I'm like, oh, that's an awesome throw. And then they cut the part out where I fall over and almost jump on Magnuson. But it was still kind of cool. I got after that, I was like, damn, that would have I think it was 12 feet. It felt like 12 feet. I don't know if it actually was. I didn't want to measure it. I was like, don't even bother. But then, like, even Jan Todd was like, I'd give it to you if I could. And I'm like, damn, that would have been really nice to get an event win. But, I still take second. Not so bad.
Yeah.
You don't need to win everything to do well. I mean, it's a strongman. It's a points game. You don't have to. You take three as long as you're consistently, in that top. I mean, depending on the size of the field, I mean, probably top 15 to 20%. As long as you're consistently every event, I mean, you can still win a show.
That's what Hooper did. He was top. He was top 3 in everything, and I don't think he won anything, if I'm not mistaken.
It happens. It happens a lot, and I think especially newer athletes don't really get that you don't have to win every event. You don't have to win any events. You just have to be consistent. Consistency is key in the sport.
Yep. I mean, that's how I kind of got where I'm at, was especially in the comps where it's like 40 people, right, in your weight class. It's very much just get top 5 and everything, and you'll be in the final, and you'll have a really good shot of winning it. That's kind of that's the best piece of advice I can give. Make yourself a generalist. If you want to win competitions, you want to break records, then that's a different game. But if you can send that top 3 all the way, you'll find a way to get on top. More times than not.
Because that makes a huge difference. Of like, Martins is great at that
and
everything. Because you'll see people of like, you can get first in every single event. Like, what was it? Maxime Boudreau did one of the Arnold qualifiers. He got like first in every event, but if you get last in an event, losing those 9 points, like, can set you back hugely. And yeah, Hooper's just great. Is he as nice in person as he seems online? Because he seems like the typical Canadian, like, or not the typical Canadian. He's like the exceptional, like the peak Canadian.
They're all so nice.
No, yeah, he's. I mean, he's been really nice to me. He's kind of taken me under his wing a little bit. Great dude. I mean, there hasn't been anybody I think I've run into where I'm like, I kind of, not as, you always hear about strongman being nice and like a brotherhood. It is like how much of a brotherhood it is. And, I experienced that very much. I got to have a good conversation with everybody. Definitely got treated way nicer than I did as a rookie in the NFL. So that was kind of cool. I think there's a much greater level of respect across competitors for sure.
Yeah, the camaraderie is definitely bar none. That's what drew me into the sport, probably more than anything. I think I like the camaraderie more than I liked the sport initially, and then the sport grew on me. Because a lot of times you kind of find that your biggest adversary or out on the field is sometimes also your biggest cheerleader, which is awesome. Nobody wants an easy win, because I mean that's strongman. Being calling yourself the strongest man when you get an easy win is kind of defeats the entire purpose of the spirit of the sport, doesn't it?
Exactly. You want to beat somebody at their best.
It makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I don't even think I was aware of it until I really got into the sport. What the camaraderie was like even at I still talk to guys that kicked my ass in the very first competition I did, and they're still rooting me on. So it's and then you kind of build these relationships, but they don't necessarily go anywhere. As one person may be out for a while, or one person may keep jumping the levels, and they're still right there supporting you. So I think that is cool.
Yeah, it really is just like a phenomenal rise to see that, and it's great seeing you arrive, and it is a good group of guys out there. It was nice group of people to see and everything. So what's your next show? Are you gonna train up for I know that you have the Shaw Classic coming up.
Right. I do have Shaw. Don't have the events yet, but we'll probably base it off of last year. Let's see, I think from the last 2 years. So they're all at least within the same category. Obviously, there'll be a couple modifications. But we know we'll see a log. We know we'll see a hand over hand of some sort. Most likely that car leg press, unless we squat it instead. Fingers crossed. But I may trade some Worlds events. Just got a bunch of time before Arnold. just in case. I haven't heard anything. May not hear anything, probably won't, but we're gonna do them anyway, just to be on deck, just in case. I may go down and watch too, because I've never been to a World's Strongest Man event, so some I'd like to see in person. Maybe get to test some equipment or something.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
that's a good. I mean, I think World's Strongest Man, probably more than any other organization, it seems to be about networking and building those relationships. Because they want. I mean, it's it's a competition, but it's also sold as entertainment, and they want people that are entertaining and I mean, showing them that you bring entertainment value and showing your character and getting those people, I think is a huge benefit to getting invited to a World's Strongest Man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they gotta make money somehow. So, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's also driving distance for me, so that makes it, a lot more feasible. It'd be different if we were talking about trying to get to the Philippines, but at least I can go drive down and watch for a couple of days at minimum.
The Philippines has got to be so hot, though.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's exciting. And two, you came in at the right time that you'll get to actually compete against Brian Shaw, which is nice for it being his last year.
Yeah, that talk about an honor that's like, I mean, I can't even fathom like what that means. Like to really think about there and say that I'll be in Brian Shaw's last competition is unfreaking believable. It's like I was actually talking to Nick Best about it, and I was like, I don't know what's become of my life at this point where, I get the honor of that, because it's just, only 15 other guys are going to get to do that, and I get to be one of them. So yeah. I'm lucky, and I got there in time, because there'll be other, open class that'll get to come up next year, but I managed to sneak in right at the last possible second. So I haven't fully digested that yet, but he did release it right before the Arnold, so I'm like, a little bit extra motivation for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's going to be around though. Still probably plenty of time to learn from his experience and whatever. Actually, it's funny. I competed at one of Brian Shaw's amateur shows way back in 2012. And one of my biggest mistakes was not listening to the World's Strongest Man. He's like, it was on the Atlas Stone. It was a max Atlas Stone, and it was all caked up with tacky, right? It was just me and one other guy down to the last. And I don't remember what we loaded up to. It was like, doesn't matter. But he's like, you want to roll it over to the other side? He's like, there's less tacky there. And I'm like, no, this is working. I got the hold of it and just slid right off, man. I'm like, and I walked away. I'm like, when the World's Strongest Man gives you a tip, you listen.
Yeah, probably ought to roll it over.
Probably ought to roll it over.
Oh man.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sure he's gonna be around. I mean, obviously the Shaw Classic doesn't look like it's going anywhere. You got to imagine he's going to be making appearances at World's Strongest Man for a long time to come.
100%. I mean, he'll, as I know, will want to be around the sport still and keep progressing, keep helping the sport grow. So I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's a good timing though, of to be here for Brian Shaw's last year, and then Hafthor's coming back, so you might get a chance to go against him at some point.
Is that good timing or is it bad timing?
But we just talked about beating the best, competing against the best. I think it's good timing because you get to go. I mean, he's definitely up there as one of the, I think, the top three, Big Z and Pujanowski. I think Thor is definitely a top three World's Strongest Man.
Oh yeah, especially with all his Arnold's performances. It's
unbelievable.
Yeah. So hopefully I'll get to compete against him next year in the Arnold. But we will see.
You have a real good future ahead of you, and definitely I think training well to be a good alternate, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
because I know. Did you talk to Kevin Ferris at all about being an alternate?
I no. Got to talk to Kevin a bunch, but not that specifically.
That makes sense. And everything. Because
Yeah, and
he did.
if it was,
Oh, yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was saying, if it was closer to the Shaw, then maybe I wouldn't worry about it. But I think it's a good opportunity to, because like there's definitely some carryover, but train some things that I haven't trained in a long time, like the Zercher carries or a bus pull. Never actually done that one in comp, so we're gonna go see if I can find a dump truck at UD and see if they'll let me borrow it for a couple hours, pull it around the parking lot.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So, what would your ideal, if you were to plan an event out, what would be your ideal 5 events?
Max squat, log for reps at about like 340 to 360 weight. Sandbag to shoulder or stone to shoulder. Notice that there's no deadlift event. There's not gonna be a deadlift. I feel better about it.
Maybe there's just another squat event. I mean,
yeah,
sometimes they put in multiple pressing events. Why can't I have 2 squat events?
Well, yeah. Well, then, all right. So we'll go log for reps and we'll go max axle, clean and press.
There you go.
And finger flip.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's always a fun
I
event
love
to watch.
Fingles, man. We need Fingles more in the weight class divisions.
Yeah, I've only got to use it once at Americas, and like it was one of those things. I never got to train on the actual one, and just kind of getting to feel it out on warm ups, and I was like, it's a clean, and anything that's a clean for me, I tend to favor. So.
Yeah, have those strong hips, that explosive power. Because I think that was like looking at your athletic background. I think a huge part of strongman is like people think of it as static strength, but it really is like work capacity is everything, like explosiveness and that work capacity.
Repeat power. Anybody can be powerful once, but you got to be able to do it over and over and over, especially
for 2 days.
Sounds a awful lot like CrossFit.
Except not over a minute.
It's not over a minute. It's not for a 5-minute, whatever they call it.
Unless running. Only running if you need to go pick up something else on a loading medley.
Yeah.
Or biking or swimming or body weight stuff. The body weight stuff's the biggest problem.
I remember a few years ago seeing Martins do muscle ups or like the pull ups and everything. And I was like, that's always impressive to see someone over 300 pounds do something like that. Did you get to meet Martins?
Yes, I did. Very, very briefly.
Oh, yeah.
Shit, he said congratulations to me and knew my name. I was like, holy shit.
Dude, he's such a down to earth and just like,
oh yeah.
And God, how do I want to describe my thoughts of Martin? I mean, he's like, I don't know, man. He's kind of a free spirited, just genuinely, just all around happy guy, man. I don't know. I've always enjoyed, I've only spent a little time around him a couple times at Clash, but it was always a good time around Martins and yeah.
Yeah, it's very genuine. It's
very genuine.
It's not a show he's putting on. He's just that's just how he is. Great dude.
Yeah, super great dude.
That makes a big difference. Are you thinking about doing anything like creating a YouTube channel or trying to get into that content thing the way a lot of strongmen have been going?
My guy that runs the social media account wants me to do YouTube.
Oh yeah.
That's where I think, being a full-time strength coach, and I say part-time strongman, just part-time in terms of hours, but it's full-time strongman with recovery and everything. And trying to do YouTube and stuff like that. It's not my favorite thing to do anyway. I'm really working on my social media on Instagram. I'm trying to get out there a little bit more, but I get a lot of help to get it where it is now. If it was really called for it, the people really want it, maybe. But I wouldn't be able to post that often because I just, with work, it's just like, if it's fall or spring semester, I'm pretty much busy at 7 days a week. Summer or winter definitely opens up my schedule a little bit more, but we'll see. I may get forced into doing it. Just
Let
John will give
everyone
you
else.
like all the breakdown of all the statistics and data and all the money that you can make doing it.
It's an astounding amount of money looking at some of those brand deals. Darren was just asking me. He was like, "Well, like, I mean, Halfthor probably makes a decent amount of money on YouTube." It's like, no, that's like real crazy money. Halfthor and Brian Shaw's channels and Eddie are just like, it's an astonishing amount of money.
Yeah, but you gotta be good at it.
Yeah, that's
Well,
the
they
hard
have, like,
thing.
they have like whole production teams behind them, right? They're not doing it by themselves.
No.
They've got, well, like Martins has Romark, right?
Romark's amazing. Like,
He's super amazing. Thor's got, I can't think of his guy's name, but I mean, they've got their little production team that goes and does all the filming and all the editing, right? They're just like I always kind of say on this show, I'm just a talking head. John does most of the work, if we're honest, and that's all you have to be, right? Just be talking head, but you got to have that production team, and that's not always the easiest thing to find. I don't think.
Well, I may have to start paying Colin because right now he's just doing it the volunteer. I feel bad if I had him cutting up YouTube videos for hours.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe some more prize winnings, and then we can look into it a little bit more.
Probably a good investment.
Yeah. Talk to the University of Delaware about getting their film classes to help you out, maybe.
Oh yeah, I guess I could
get the university students. Like, I bet there's probably some college students out there who would absolutely kill to be.
That's actually a great idea.
Help,
make it their project.
Yeah.
Like,
just like record your journey up to the Shaw Classic. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah,
that is
100%.
Just go up to the professor and say, just tell him like I'm open for whenever your students need a project. Come to me.
Yeah. Because like we have every major like known to man on this campus, so I can't imagine there's not some creative filming or whatever it's called.
In the very least, it's got to be an elective.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure most of them they have like a lot of them they'll have like amazing photography suites with like real good equipment and everything, so you can definitely like get some help there with like that real high quality production thing. So talk to the film people and the photography classes. Like
that's freaking perfect.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of that?
That's why we had you on the show. I was like, I need to ask him if he's talked to like college students, because as soon as I heard you worked at a university, I was like, there are so many students who are just trying their hardest to like
get into that field.
Yeah. Because that's the main thing. It's like I told Darren, he's like, you do so much. And I'm like, I'm not really strong or anything. I just understand tech. And then and then these students these days, like they understand so many things. Occasionally people ask me how I edit. And it's like, I feel kind of like a boomer talking to some people because I'm like, oh, I just use a basic thing. Like I maybe have 3 layers. And they're like, oh, you don't use like Premiere Pro and like all these like After Effects. So you definitely should, because I think that would be a great free resource of like Martins finding Romark was like, just an amazing thing. And people really enjoy it. So it wouldn't be too much work on your part and stuff, unless you get into like Halfthor's like playing video games on Twitch all day and stuff like that. Takes a lot of energy.
I mean, I like to play video games. I don't know if I'm good enough at them to Twitch it, but
what's your favorite game series?
I mix up. I'm replaying Red Dead Redemption 2 right now.
Oh, so good.
Yeah. I was there's not any new games out right now where I'm like I got to play this. So I just I started that one in the winter, and I've just been replaying the story, bringing one of the best games of all time, hands down.
Yeah, that one, like I love the first one, was amazing. Just like the world they do and just the storyline. Rockstar Games, they make some amazing things. I feel like they kind of just wrote off on like Grand Theft Auto 5. They re-released it for like 10 years, it felt like. But
they can when the story's that good.
Yeah, it's true. And there's so much versatility.
Yep.
So that's always good. Yeah, so you could do something like that, just like Twitch stream whenever you play that. And if you have someone good with social media, they could just clip it up, make it.
And do we know that Thor's even good at the games he plays?
That's true. You never see his hands. It's just like him reacting on the screen.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Could just have someone play it.
I mean, he's capitalized on that really well. I mean, he went and met some gamers in Texas that what was that? There was like some kind of like contest or something. He said, if you get me X number of followers or something like that, I'll come visit you. And they exceeded it, I think.
Yeah, and they were
Isn't
here
that
at
the
Big
story, John?
Tex.
John
Yeah,
probably knows it better than me, but yeah.
yeah. They were streaming out at Big Tex, and it was wild to see if I just happened to run into him. It's funny because I went there to train strongman events, and I was like, man, I'm so sad that I missed Hafthor. Like everyone there, like he's gone to the airport, he's going to Rome. He's definitely like, you missed him. He left hours ago. And then out of nowhere, I was doing sandbags over bar, and I'm like wildly out of breath because we were just going head to head. And suddenly someone runs in and was like, Thor's here, Thor's here. And I'm like trying to catch my breath and trying to like gain my composure. Because I was like, I don't want to seem like a crazy fanboy and also be super out of breath. Like, oh my God, I'm so glad I met you. So I tried to play it cool. It was nice that like one of my friends, Hodor, was there with me, who's also 6'9", and it was crazy to like stand next to the two of them and try to have a conversation. And I'm like looking up the whole time. I was like, just such incredibly tall people.
Is Derek 6'9", dude?
Yeah. Derek is insanely tall.
I've competed with him before. I don't remember him being. I know he's really tall, but 6'9" is.
Yeah. It's the picture you see. It's like he's up there. But yeah, you should definitely, the social media thing makes a big difference, because I feel like sometimes that can kind of grease the wheels for invites and everything of like that presence. And it was just great seeing you. Of like, Andrew said it was great to meet you, by the way, with Kratos. He was so excited about that. And then he was like, yeah, he said you were big too. He was like, I did not expect Tom to be that big, of like with the pictures and stuff. But yeah, it's nice that you're repping a small business like that. Andrew's been great for this show.
He's been great to me. He was one of the first people I ever reached out to me, and I'm glad I got to hang on for a little bit. So I do what I can.
That makes sense. Like, do you look for sponsorships, or how's that work at this level? Have you started getting approached by more people?
I have something in the works with one company. I am a sponsored MHP athlete, and it was really cool because with how historic they are with strongman.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of old, well, not even that many years ago. I mean, Arnold competitions all wearing an MHP shirt. Then I do work with Strength Lead as well as a coach and an athlete. Got a couple programs on there. Make it easy for me. If I do ever get more time, I'd look into like strongman, like one-on-one coaching. But by the time I'm done with my day, I've already coached, depending on the day, could be 250 athletes if I have all my teams. So it's like, we're kind of done for the day. Time to play some Xbox.
That definitely makes a difference.
Yeah.
And it's great that your job is so supportive of that.
Yeah.
And stuff. I think that makes a huge difference.
Makes a huge difference.
Yeah, because some people have like trying to be a full-time employee and do what essentially is a full-time job. You think training 16 hours a week, but also like, what do you do for recovery, especially like this week? What have you been focusing on?
Nothing. I haven't done any this week.
Nothing.
Just this week. This week is like I can have a beer on Thursday and it's fine. Because I get in this such competition mode. I didn't. For this competition was the longest time I went like where I didn't drink anything. I didn't have. My buddy was up here January 20th. I think he left, and after he left, I'm like, I can't leave anything up to chance, even if it probably didn't affect my performance at all. Having a couple Coors Lights, but I was like, I just can't. In my mind, I can't risk it. I can't. The Arnold meant so much to me, and it's funny on the live stream. They say, well, there's no pressure for Tom in a competition like this. And in my mind, it's nothing but pressure, because if I don't do well, then like, how do you get your foot back in the door? Because you can't with Arnold. Once you maxed out the Arnold Amateur, that's it. I imagine similar with the Shaw. It's like if I did shitty and then don't get invited back, I can't go back and do the Shaw Open. That'd be weird, I guess. But like, so to me, in my mind, there's more pressure, because if somebody else has a bad comp that's already established, they'll get invited back. It was just a bad comp for them, and then that happens to everybody. But you don't want your first one to be a bad one.
It's true. Because when they said that, no pressure, I was like, no pressure. He's just in front of all the best strongmen in the world and Arnold himself.
Yeah,
And
Just
probably one of the
like
biggest
in front of
like
legends.
fan crowds in the world too.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Only-
any other show draws even remotely the size of an audience than Arnold does.
no, it was insane though. It was packed. And I've been in front of large crowds before, but they were never looking at me on the football field unless I messed up really badly. So it's a little different when you're the only person up there and everybody's looking at you. But try to use that energy in a positive way.
Well, that makes a huge difference. And you definitely did of like just pulling off a phenomenal performance there. For the deadlifts, trying to get better at that, like what do you train specifically? Because you seem real strong off the floor and everything. Do you do a lot of like higher 18-inch pulls and stuff?
Not a whole lot, and more so with like bands. Like a lot of banded deadlifts. We don't spend a whole lot of time going from rack pulls. Did doing the 13-inch deadlift, from like wagon wheels. I don't know. I haven't found a lot of success with rack pulls. I spent the year doing almost exclusively rack pulls, and it didn't help me that much. Lots of box squatting. That was the thing that I hadn't done before I started working with Dirks. Then we started incorporating more box squats, which I found that helped me in that mid position a little bit more. Same thing with good mornings, stuff like that, reverse hypers, glute bridges, probably more glute. I actually hate glute bridges. I don't like doing arms and I don't like doing glute bridges, but I've started to do a lot more of those. It's weird because that's everybody's favorite thing to do, and it's like we're hardly moving the bar, and it's well, sure I can put 700 pounds on here, but I'm just bouncing off the floor. It's not a big glute bridge guy for myself.
That's a good stance, though. On the show, we've made very strong opinions about 18-inch deadlift. It's just not. It's not the best deadlift. There. And bands really are where it's at.
You're putting yourself in a different position too. That's kind of always been my argument. I mean, some people claim, do whatever works for you, I guess. But some people claim that they have a lot of success from doing rack pulls. But I'm like, you're pulling from a different position. You're mechanically in a huge advantage to pull a lot more weight. I mean, if you're pulling from your sticking point 100 to 200 pounds more than what you're sticking with, it's not really helping you get to the sticking point, is it?
Yeah, it's going into your sticking point, not necessarily where it actually gets stuck.
It's creating the momentum to get through it, right?
Right. Yeah, I think probably my success with squatting, it makes it easier to get off the floor. I wish we do partial deadlifts, but flip it instead of a high pull. Do all right, what's the way you can get off the floor? I'd love that competition. That will never happen, but
I love deficits. They really are where it's at.
Yes,
I like a solid deficit, like a 6-8 inch deficit. I'd much rather do that all day
6 to 8 inches under your feet.
Under I like the bar near my toes,
like that. Least lift does.
How do you get your foot under it?
Trap bar's the perfect deficit thing to do.
Oh, true.
It's a good one. Just stand on some plates.
For me, I consider trap bar squat.
Yeah.
If you set yourself, it's all how you set it up in your hip position. But the trap bar deadlift's the very, very popular thing in college strength and conditioning nowadays because it's generally safe. It's the safest pull there probably is. But then if you go high
pay attention
handle,
to this, John. We've had this argument.
Well, if you go with high handles, right, and a lot of athletes I work with are well under that 6 foot mark. I mean, you're essentially doing a rack trap bar pull, which is about 2 inches of movement. And I can do 700 pounds. Well, that's great. You moved it that far. That almost sounds like a sumo argument, but I'm not getting into that.
Sumo. We'll protect sumo on this show. We like
Uh,
trap bars, and we'll protect sumo.
I'm a huge fan of sumo. I want to see more sumo in strongman.
I just don't have the hip mobility.
Yeah, I couldn't do it
genuinely cannot
even if
get
it was
10%.
given the option. And
Yeah.
there's people half my body weight pulling 100 pounds more than I am, so that's why I'm like, yeah, fuck. You know, I can't talk shit on sumo until I can at least pull 1,000. I guess that's when I can talk shit on sumo.
The remarkable thing is, like, I mean, I kind of agree that they're a little different lifts for sure, but these guys, especially powerlifters that are pulling like 1,000 pounds, over 1,000 pounds with sumo now, everybody's trashing on them. And the reality is they're like Jamal Browner and Shane Hunt. They're huge sumo pullers, but their conventional is also just insanely ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would be like, do you argue that 1,000-pound yoke is an unimpressive because you only got to squat it up by that much? Like, so
Super
it's
impressive.
yeah. I mean, it's its own technique, and to be that powerful and that much of a outside normal position, it's something I can't do. So I'm like, more power to you guys if you can. I
Yeah.
look like a broken duck trying to sumo pull.
Oh, that's what it feels like a duck walk. That's also one of my least favorite movements, trying to get that like waddle around with that position. So one thing I'd have to ask you, what do you think about a few years ago, Robert Oberst said that you shouldn't deadlift unless like you're an athlete training for it. You should do like power cleans and stuff. So would you agree with that? Like that's why you would recommend trap bar?
You can't do power cleans unless you can pick up a bar off the ground, which is a deadlift. Right? Like, so ideally, if I can progress, like if I'm progressing athletes to try to teach, I like actually full cleans if I can get my group of athletes, if their training age is high enough to do it. So like, from the ground and like full front squat catch. But if I'm starting from ground one and like athletes have never done cleans before, they've never even touched a barbell, because some of the sports I work with that we'll get athletes and like, it's literally like, this is a dumbbell, this is a barbell, believe it or not. Not for football. It's more so, and it's about 50-50 in some of the other sports. So they'll have very minimal experience. They also come from other countries where it's not as used in field sports type setting. But like you can't learn to do a clean if you can't front squat, and if you can't at least quarter front squat, or if you can't RDL, and if you can't RDL, or you probably can't deadlift. So it's like, it's part of the movement to get there. What you'll see is if like high school gets a bad rap, because there will be high school kids that are, depending on what state you're in, strength coaches that aren't qualified, and they're ego lifting with the weight, and there's no proper technique, and then that would lead you to Oberst's opinion on deadlift. But it's a fundamental movement. You need to be able to, to do a clean, you have to be able to deadlift. At least to like,
sorry.
If at least to that position, if you're doing hang cleans, you got to be able to do an RDL, or you can't. You're going to do a really shitty clean.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I got out of Oberst's point though more than anything is he was kind of more along the lines of, if you're not going to be like a competitive weightlifter, like doing the deadlift is a higher risk than there is to reward. Like the average person deadlifting, I think it was his kind of point was, there's really no point in, unless you're an athlete, to really deadlift.
Well,
that's what I took away from it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ability to, like, as a regular person, being able to stiffen your trunk and maintain posture under load is important. And that's really what it is. You're just fighting posture. But that's why I like it for field sports. I'm just trying to think of it. I've also never been a general population person, so
yeah,
I've always been in something. So
That makes
But
sense.
It's obviously has a lot of utility. I think when applied properly, there's no question about that.
The full cleans, the fact that you have your athletes doing that, I see so many impressive videos these days of football players being able to like drop under the bar, which is like that takes an astonishing amount of coordination. Darren occasionally will do like try to do the squat cleans and stuff, but I can't. That takes so much coordination and explosiveness.
I've accidentally done a squat clean.
It's very much the ability to initiate force and then turn around, shut those muscles off so you can get underneath, absorb the force, and then reproduce the force again, which is essentially football.
That makes sense why that would be good carryover. Get that explosive up.
Yeah, because it's one thing to be strong, there's another thing to be coordinated. But and that's why you get, sprinting and jumping, especially for field sports, is just as important. Because if you don't have the coordination to reproduce that power, because we can all think of really good weight room athletes, but they were probably terrible on the field. And it really comes down to usually coordination.
Brian Siders always comes to mind. Incredible power lifter, not a great mover. Because he was invited to, I think, the Arnold one year and World's Strongest Man. And you could just tell, I mean, he'd never trained to move, right? And I'm not knocking the guy. He was an incredible powerlifter, insanely strong. But that lack of athleticism just didn't carry over. Right?
And some people just doesn't. But there's ways to train that, just like there's ways to train anything else. And if you're not careful, you can train it doing a bunch of cute shit on BOSU balls and all that crap that you see nowadays.
You can be a meme lifter. You can be a meme lifter and win all the Zucker bucks.
Yeah, that's true. Get all that stuff. But yeah, I realize it is past your bedtime as you.
Yeah, you look like you're getting tired, Tom.
8 p.m.
I
bedtime.
tried not to. This was one of my 4 o'clock wake up days. So.
Oh wow, yeah. So you've been up a good while now.
But it's I'm hanging in there. This is better than I don't know if you guys saw the Hoopers podcast or not podcast.
The pillow talk.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That was my rookie bullying. I like to point out. I didn't know what I was getting into, and two that was also it was only started at 9:30, but I was just like so tired.
That's the funny part. When you told me that you have an early bedtime, I was like, to do an interview while laying in a bed or sitting in a bed past your bedtime would just
and my voice was getting all raspy. I'm like, I'm not good again in this interview. So all interviews can't be done right after the event, and they can't be at 9 o'clock at night.
It's true. I was like, that's the Canadian version of
the best interviews are right after the event. I'm like a huge fan, especially on the big Z days. They ask me like, what did it take for you to do this event? Z, he's like, I'm strong. I'll compete.
I lift your chest and then I
lift your chest. Dude, those are the best. I freaking love those interviews, man.
It's freaking great.
Matoush does some good ones too, where like they'll ask him like how he's so good at the frame carry, and he's like, I pick it up and I run with it. You're like,
I didn't think
that guy's so fast.
Dude, he's like he gets straight to the point, man. He like, he says what he has to say, and that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, he had a tough time at some of the things in the comp, but the fact that he could still do that frame thing, I was so shocked by that he still had the speed. And because especially, I mean, you did the event. Like, can you imagine being able to just sprint up there in 8 seconds?
I tried and it didn't work at all.
Yeah. Which is crazy when sometimes he struggles with deadlifting. And I know it's a different movement, but like watching him like try to deadlift 800 pounds. Yeah.
Trap bar.
It's
all it
is. He was a surprisingly rotund and surprisingly agile man at the same time.
Yeah.
That agility is key.
It's crazy.
But I didn't know if you wanted to leave us with any thoughts, or if we can go on longer if you want. I know that you have to wake up in probably 7 hours.
We should probably wrap it up. I've got prep to do for my morning as well. So
Well, you guys got a good closer.
Yeah.
We usually leave it to the guests. So, like, I mean, tell us. I mean, any final thoughts where people can find you on the socials? You know, plug coaching if you got it, and we'll close with that.
Yeah. So, well, my Instagram is Tom Evans Strongman. I do have a Twitter that I use for like coaching stuff. I think it's Coach Tom Evans. You know, and I really appreciate you guys having me on the show. Super excited, and hopefully some more doors opening up, and we'll get to keep doing these big competitions, and get to talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, it was a pleasure, Tom. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Film studies students out there, University of Delaware, hit this man up. Like,
Yes.
it's gonna
I'm
be a
actually
game changer.
I'm going to start working on that tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, thank you so much for
I
coming.
need some creative writer students too.
There you go.
You literally have a whole university at your
Yeah,
disposal.
I'll just freaking. What was I thinking? We'll use that. Yeah, I wonder if they have welding. That's gonna be the next thing I gotta find.
Oh, they do. I'm pretty
Go to the mechanical engineering building, man. That's where it's at.
Perfect.
Oh, they can make equipment for you as projects for school.
Oh, this is a gold mine.
That's what I did when I was in college. That's what I did. I went to the mechanical engineering building. They actually like let me just use the shop and the welder, and I just brought in my own materials and made my own logs.
Oh, that's freaking brilliant.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That is. Thanks again for coming on the show. This was really wonderful.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you guys for having me.
Support us on Patreon or Anchor, and find us on Instagram or Facebook.